Welcome back to part 2 of our conversation with Dr. Princess Thomas. So, when you went to Yale, you already had a baby.
I did.
So you talk about
I did.
lots of plates in the air.
I know. So, oh goodness, now I'm really crying.
I love this.
This is, goodness gracious, girl.
As if you weren't challenged enough, first African American female getting this fellowship at Yale, you're going with a little baby.
Oh yeah.
How old was Peyton?
Goodness, Peyton was born December of 13, and I moved to Connecticut in 2015, so she was like a year and a half. She turned 2 in Connecticut, so yeah.
And I mean, you were in a situation where
I was the only fellow. I was the only fellow. There was one fellow a year.
Which means you were
I was on call all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
What did you do?
So when I first moved to Connecticut, my grandmother was already sick. So, or, not in the best of health, I should say. So my mom came up there with me for like the first several weeks to try to help me find a nanny while I had, started working. And so she helped me find a nanny. And so that was my, my go-to while I was working. Now, granted, thankfully, there are not a ton of emergencies as it pertains to like breast. But nevertheless, I still have to be there early, and you work until you get off, and you don't know how long surgery is going to go, and all of that. But it was, and Peyton loves to tell the story that she lived in Connecticut at some point.
I am not a Southerner. I live in Connecticut.
Am not. So, but it worked, and quite honestly, Teresa, when I think back, I have no idea.
Besides, I don't either.
The good Lord,
you have a drive to this day that is stupendous. Yeah. I watch you fly back and forth between 2 clinics every week, and you have 2 young children, and you're a single mom.
Right.
And I don't know how, and you have time to have a dinner with me and laugh and talk.
Oh, yeah.
And
absolutely.
You have an energy that's very unusual. I've never seen you tired. I've never seen you super down. Well, maybe once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I will say, I really think when you are really, truly living in your purpose and doing what you're supposed to do, it's not work.
Yeah.
It's not work. And even motherhood, now it's probably one of the hardest things I've ever done.
Definitely. I'll attest to that.
And I wish I had my grandma here to help. But, when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, when you're aligned.
That's such a good point. And I want to explore that for a minute, because I think you felt that you were always in your purpose, And please say this your way, but
right.
In my knowledge of you as a friend, even from the time you were very young, you felt like your purpose was where God wanted you. Mm-hmm. You've always felt aligned spiritually with what you chose to do in life, and that it was a calling. Am I right?
I agree. Absolutely. And it's so interesting now, because now when I have interactions with my patients, now I get to a point, and you can kind of tell, you can kind of, feed off of people. And is this the time that I should talk to them about God?
Yeah. And don't you often ask if you can pray for them?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then and there have been so many interactions that I've had with patients and they say, it's something about you. Mm-hmm. You're different. Mm-hmm. Or, God brought me here. I don't know why, but he brought me here, and I'm where I'm supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And it is every single time I get it, this tingling sensation, right? Through my whole body. And I'm like, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I don't know what else to say. It sucks to tell people that they have breast cancer, right? That's not the news that I want to deliver. However, I know that because he put me here to specifically do this, there's a purpose in it.
Yeah. And I think, I've been with you numerous times at dinner where you'll get a phone call that didn't need to come to you, but you've opened it up.
Right.
Somebody who is suffering, who has cancer, whom you've either seen that day, you're going to see the next day, and you will stop dinner and straight up give them counsel, give them your presence, pray with them.
Right.
You nurture and you give God as you treat.
I do my best. It's hard sometimes.
I know.
It really is, but like I said, you kind of learn, and every day is different. Every patient is different. Every family member associated with the patient is different. But you
Right.
kind of learn how to start to balance things and try your best to not bring things home. And,
Yeah.
but once again, it's hard because, if there's something that comes up, I'm the person that's called, right?
Right.
So,
But I think it's just so unusual. Like I certainly felt in my purpose and aligned with God when I was a musician. But when that went away,
Right.
I've done a lot of business and I've been successful at some and not at some. But I've never felt in my purpose. I do now. I do writing the book. I do in this podcast telling stories that I think build others up
Right.
as they listen. I very much feel like I'm in purpose, my purpose right now in life, and that I'm aligned spiritually.
right.
But I spent most of my life working very hard and giving it
Absolutely.
my life's blood and my passion, but I didn't feel in my purpose. So I just think it's so extraordinary that your whole life you've been able to say that.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
unusual.
and it's been a slow, it's been a mountain, right? I mean, and we've just been slowly climbing. And I feel like you never really get to the top of the mountain until
it's over.
until it's time for you to go.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'm just steadily climbing,
Well, honey, you
trying
climbing
not to look
fast.
back
You're climbing
because I don't know how I feel about heights, but I'm like, I don't know if I need to look back. But I mean, it's just steady. What else can I do to help somebody? Right?
Well, I've always said this, and I don't mean to in any way undermine the enormity of what you do in your work and how you treat your patients. But I've always said the greatest thing we do on this earth is our children. It's the gift we leave, having given this world.
Right.
You have two amazing little ones. Peyton's not so little anymore.
Oh, I know.
We haven't talked so much about this, and motherhood is a jagged road when it's easy and you have a committed mate. You're a single mom of two
Right.
kids,
Right.
and you have two practices, and the juggle is real, and yet you always seem in that place of connectedness to both kids. And I mean, we'll be at dinner and you're FaceTiming good night.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You do not let a night pass.
Right.
Talk to me about the whole big picture of motherhood with
Yeah.
both kids, where it fits, what it feels like, what you draw from.
So I think, and quite honestly, when choosing a career, part of the reason, not in total for sure, but part of the reason that I pivoted towards breast was, I didn't want to not live my dream, right? Which I, began to see after, being with Dr. Brewer was being a surgeon, right? But then I kind of pivoted into the whole breast field, if you will, because, I said, well, I should be able to do what I want to do, but still be able to be a mom, right? Because as you alluded to a little earlier, I had Peyton when I was in residency, right, toward the latter end of residency. And that's around the time that I decided, okay, I'm going to be a breast surgical oncologist. So for more reasons than one, I chose that. But one was motherhood, right? I wanted to, got to be a surgeon. That's what's going to fulfill me in life as far as a profession is concerned, right? But quite honestly, how am I going to do that and be a mother too? And not just be a mother, but be a present mother, right?
Right.
Someone that, my kids won't say, oh God, I would never be a doctor. I never see my mom.
Right.
I just didn't want that. But I wasn't willing to give up what I wanted to do too, as selfish as that may sound. I was like, there has to be a way for me to be able to do both. And, quite honestly, that's part of how I ended up in this field outside of being able to have a continual relationship with my patients, right? So I'm hopefully fixing a problem, but also having a relationship, right? Not something that is short-lived.
Right.
Right.
You're
Typically,
not
it's
in and out
something
of a
that's
surgery,
years.
and that's all you have.
That's right. So, this field allowed me to do both. And so, and once again, just like I said before too, there's typically not a lot of breast emergencies. I mean, there are some, some times that you have to go back to the operating room for a complication or, different things like that. But generally speaking, it can wait until tomorrow.
Yeah. So
Right?
you have your evenings.
Right. Right. So, I enjoy, once again, still being able to do that, but being able to have dinner with the kids and go through homework and go outside with the basketball and all the things.
Well, and you drive both kids to school every day before you hit the clinic.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, and they go to different schools.
They go to different schools. And we, and even sometimes, and granted, I'm not a cook, and you know that. Sometimes I get up in the morning and even cook.
Oh my gosh.
Before sending them to school, and I mean it's a juggle, right? But you just do your best.
I know, and you do, and your
Yeah.
best is such a high bar. But kind of break open your ribs a little bit for me. How has motherhood changed you?
It has made me question myself a million times, right?
Yeah.
Was I too hard on them? What did I not say the right thing? Maybe I just should have let them do that. Or, so I've questioned myself a million times, really just wondering and I'm doing it by myself. I mean, am I making the right, especially with my son, am I making the right decision? I mean, I'm a mom. I can't teach him how to be a man, right? But, I can only nurture him, and I mean, even with Peyton, am I being too hard on her because it's a woman trying to raise a girl into a woman, So
Yeah, and you were so driven and so successful. And so far, Peyton is, tracking exactly like you.
Right.
Mostly.
Right.
She holds back some, I think.
Yeah.
But
she does. But she's so talented.
She's the winner of everything, and her grades are out the roof, and she puts a lot of pressure on herself.
She does.
And I honestly don't see you putting that pressure. She puts it, but she's watching your life.
Right.
And she knows what it took to get where you are.
Right.
So how do you kind of back that down so she doesn't have this perfectionist mentality?
So even though sometimes I don't think she believes me, she'll do something that she'll say, "Mom, I didn't mean to embarrass you." And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" If she if we're out at dinner and she spills something in her lap or whatever, I'm like, "All right, just, we'll get another napkin. It's fine." "Mom, I didn't mean," and I'm like, "Girl, I don't care anything about that. I really don't." I mean, it's just little things like that I think that she thinks that I care about. And in all honesty, I don't, and if we're just talking about that, at the end of the day, if we're at dinner, all I want you to do is make healthy decisions, right? I don't care about the minutia, the things that she, once again, thinks that I really care about, I think that she thinks that I want her to be a certain person, but I have tried to tell her a million times, I don't care what you do in life. I don't care what you do. And I mean that with every ounce of my being, just be the best at it. And I know that sounds so cliche, but
Not really.
I mean, that's all I want.
I don't know how else you say that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know so many times walking out the door, my kids would give me the eye roll, in the mornings when I would say, just make good decisions today. Just, that's all I want you to do. Just make good decisions. And they'd be like, Mom.
Now, here we go again.
And I've got my little love notes in their lunch bags till they're way too old.
Yeah.
But, that's the things we do to try to.
Right.
Does Peyton have a dream like you had a dream?
So she has been saying for the longest time that she wants to be a cosmetologist. And I'm like, great. I think that's great. I think, when your girlfriends come over or you go over their house, you're the one doing everybody's hair and all that. Now she's called herself into makeup. And I'm like, oh my God, here we go. But I'm like, if you like that, that's awesome, right? Just, be great at it. We'll figure out where to send you to do all the things.
Right.
But recently I have realized that she is an artist. That girl can draw. I mean, she will pull up some picture, and she will draw it, and it looks good. And I'm like, whoa. Whereas me, I can only draw a stick man, right? That is not my thing. I'm not creative at all. She is creative.
And she's
an
also
artist.
Academically gifted.
She is.
She wins
really
everything.
Is. She is.
So it's curious to me.
Yeah, she's student council president. She's in the Beta Club.
Yeah.
I mean, she does it all. She does it all.
But it's a different dreaming.
It is.
Which I think is amazing.
It is.
Talk to me about Royce.
Oh my gosh, Royce is all into sports right now, right?
Well,
And
he's
so,
so young.
yeah, he is, and to his father's credit, I mean, he has him in just about everything, all the different sports, and I do think that that's good from the standpoint of you can kind of figure out what you like, even though he's young. I mean, he'll be 6 next
I was
month,
going to
but
say, I remember.
yeah, you were there,
I remember. I was about to say he's about to be 6.
yeah, which is crazy.
James was there.
I know. I have pictures in my phone.
I know.
You holding him and James standing there and just looking down at Royce. But I mean, he's all into sports, right? That's his thing. And if it's not fun, he don't want to do it, right? So, oh, Mom, I don't want to go to school. It's not fun. Like, oh my God. You have to go to school. If you don't go to school, I'll go to jail. You gotta go. I mean, I don't know what
This
else to
is
tell you.
about me, Royce.
This is about me.
That's right.
I want to be free. Okay. So, but I mean, he's a typical kid. I mean, he does anything he can to get on his sister's nerves, and so I mean, he's just a typical boy. But he loves his mama.
I know. I
Yeah.
watched him love you so big.
Yeah.
Okay, hard question. Again, we don't have to go here.
Yeah.
You can say don't. And only once have you brought this up with me, and I can't remember what we were talking about. I don't remember what happened in the world. Mm-hmm. But you brought up having a son who's got beautiful brown skin and your fear for him. And I don't know what was going on at the time, but it's the first time you'd ever said anything to me where I realized the race thing was playing in the way that you were raising the children.
Right. Well, and obviously my primary residence is right outside of Charlotte in Mooresville, and so over the last several years there have been so many racially fueled things that have happened across the U.S.
Right.
And I think it's particularly difficult for African American men. Right, out of all the other demographics, I know. I mean, to be quite honest, I mean, profiling is a thing.
Yeah.
And so when I think about, okay, now granted he's little now, but when he gets to be older, I need you to know you need to dress a certain way because quite honestly, if you're walking around with a hoodie and, even though it may be cold outside, I don't know, but I mean, there's so many different reasons for people to look at you a certain type of way, even if maybe you're not the person that they think that you are, but you have to be very careful, right? If you get pulled over by the cops, I mean, you should follow all directions. Don't reach for anything. I mean, and that's just being completely honest, because that is what we've seen in America over, the last several years. I mean, so it's so many different things that you really have to think about and be cognizant of and really try to, teach your kids, unfortunately, the world isn't fair. It's not, and now I've seen it more on the adult side, than growing up, even though once again, I grew up in the 80s. I didn't see then what really goes on now. And once again, it could be because I was sheltered, but it seems so different now, right? Than it was then. And so, you just have to have these conversations. And granted, I mean, that means nothing to him right now. But, besides what I'm telling you now is use your manners. Please and thank you. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. All those things. I mean, that's just the groundwork, right? And those are things that he can understand at this point, right? But those are all foundational tools, in my opinion,
That lead to the next thing and the next thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's just a whole other layer that you have to carry,
it is.
As a single Black mom of 2 beautiful children. You have to go through things as a mother I didn't have to go through.
Right.
Fine.
Nonetheless, I mean, it's what you have to do, and I think going back to my grandmother, that's one of the things that, it may be hard. It may be difficult. What are you going to do about it? You're going to get through it.
Yeah.
That's just kind of what it is. And so I think that that's how I tackle life, right? I mean, it's not going to be easy. It's just not, and sometimes, for example, I have difficult surgeries, but I've gotten to where now, every surgery I say, this is the best mastectomy I've ever done.
Oh, I love
this
it.
Is and it may be horrific as far as, oh my God, it was so difficult or whatever, but going into it, this is the best whatever I've ever done,
Yeah.
And so I think mindset means a lot, and I didn't, and I'm just kind of getting into this part of my life where I'm speaking positively,
Oh,
right?
gosh, I believe that so much.
And I've never been okay, talk it out type person. I just did it. But now I'm starting to see like there's so much power in words, you know?
Absolutely. I
And
mean,
so,
it's so much of my healing of
Yeah.
the last 5 years, and certainly healing before that, I'm sure, but just really your thoughts create your life. Your thoughts create your words, create your life.
Right.
And I just live by it. I write it. I speak it out loud, you know, because I had to speak words of faith and a will to live to myself because I didn't have it when James died.
right.
So that was the first time I had to really dig deeper than I knew I could dig to just keep going.
And it shows you how strong you are, you know?
Well, got good friends that are
Sure,
strong
I
too.
mean,
So, you know, I know there's no way to predict what's next, but you know, you've done so much and you're only 41. You know, you already own 2 clinics. You really, you've dug some deep grooves in the sand. You're, you know, a renowned surgeon. People come to you, people seek you out. What do you think is in front of you? Is there something you really want?
Quite honestly, I've really gotten to the point now where, you know, I really want to, as far as it pertains to like taking care of patients, personalized medicine is kind of where we're going in general, in my opinion. And I really want to tailor my practice to literally, and we're specifically talking about breast cancer. I really want to tailor my practice to have a personalized approach to every single patient, right? And there's so many things that have happened as far as how we take care of cancer now, right? How we go about treating someone based upon their particular type of cancer and the DNA of their cancer and all those different things. So that's one of the big things that I really want to, you know, kind of pivot into and maybe even get in a little bit of research. But quite honestly, I would love to have a big cancer center.
Oh,
Yeah. And so, you know, you can have everything under one roof.
yeah. Instead of sending people all over the place, that's a big.
It's
dream.
a burden, right, for the patient and their family, and you know, and it's expensive.
It is expensive. So, just as we're wrapping this up, and you know, you and I have so many amazing conversations when we have dinner, and I so love where you've grown to. I mean, you always had a faith, and you never got outside that faith.
Right.
But I mean, even I think it was last year, and you know, we always have a couple glasses of wine at dinner, and you know, I met you for dinner, and you said, "Yeah, no, I'm not having wine right now." I was like, "What is wrong with you?"
You're like,
and,
hold
and
on,
how
talk
can
to me.
you do
You're
this
like,
to
hold
me?
on, are you pregnant?
Yeah,
I'm like, no, Teresa.
And you were like, "No, I'm really seeking God about a partner, and I'm fasting, and I'm prayerful, and I'm, you know, just in this place that I'm going to go long here." I don't know how long you did it. Was it 21 days?
I think it was at least 21. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a while because
Yeah.
I didn't want to have dinner with you again.
I know, you're like, well, let me know when this is over. And let me know what you get. Oh my gosh. You're like, I'm booked and busy for 21 days. I'm like, what?
Just talk to me about what that belief means.
So, you know, that's part of how I was raised, right? So I was born in the church, Baptist, you know, and obviously Christian. And so, you know, when you grow up, you just kind of go with everything, right?
Yeah.
We go to church, we go to Sunday school, we pray before we eat, we
Right.
pray before we go to bed, right? We, you know, and I've been a Christian and, you know, and professed Jesus Christ from a young age. But, you know, it wasn't until I got older when I really, really, really had to lean into it and kind of just going through so many different things in life, you know?
Well, you went through a tough divorce.
Yeah.
A just gut-wrenching divorce.
Right.
And that it was so hurtful, so hard, and protecting children and
Right.
all those things. You know, and I watched you. I mean, we would talk, you would cry. It was the hardest thing you'd ever done.
Absolutely.
And you leaned in. You leaned
Yeah.
into God.
That's all I had, Teresa. And I'm not saying my family and friends weren't there. Absolutely. Absolutely they were. But it was something that only God could, you know, could help me with, you know, quite honestly, because when you've been hurt, right, you know, whether it's, you know, that person, a combination of the both or whatever, you know, and you're truly hurt and asking all these questions that no one has the answer for, I mean, it's like, God, you may not tell me why, but I mean, I need you to help me. I can't do this, all the while still trying to maintain practices, trying to look okay to my kids,
Yeah,
still be functional.
I know that walk.
And I mean, and literally like not miss a step.
No time to grieve it.
No,
and
not really.
Huge loss, and
not really.
Loss of dreams.
Yeah,
as a couple.
Yeah, I mean, and it says a lot. Like when when you're with someone and whatever causes the
rupture,
right? The rupture, whether it's divorce because you guys it's amicable and we're all right, it's just not working, or whether there's a death, or so many different things. Divorce is divorce, right? I mean, someone leaving in whatever fashion is them leaving and them being, they're not a part of your life anymore, and so to have that happen and have it, in my opinion, happen pretty abruptly, and life just it's just like somebody just threw the cards,
right?
And everything just fell, and it's like, what? Hold on, where am I? And how am I supposed to take care of that myself? And I don't know how to do that. And wait, I gotta go find somewhere else to live. Like all these different things. It was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was really rough.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
So much. I mean, I remember you stayed with friends. It took a while.
Yeah.
It was not like
it wasn't
conscious uncoupling.
It wasn't glitz and glamour at all. And so, and I mean, and once again, I mean, my kids were even. I mean, we're all like, okay, we gotta find somewhere to live. This is weird, but I still got to go to work and operate on people.
And they still had to go to school and pretend that it was all okay.
Yeah. And thankfully, they were a bit younger then, but still, I mean, it was just absolutely insane.
But I never saw you lose your faith.
Yeah, I couldn't.
You did the opposite.
I mean, Teresa, if I didn't believe in God, I just would have laid down and died. I mean, because there was no way around it. Like, what am I supposed to do? I had just started a new practice. I wasn't.
You had a new baby.
Yeah, I had a new baby. I wasn't making any money. What in the world am I supposed to do? But God is good. He's faithful.
I know. He is.
So.
And it's the only thing I've known to really rock you.
Right.
It's the only place I've seen you absolutely, you didn't crumble in life. As you said, you kept going.
Right.
But your sorrow was great. I don't know if I would say your belief in yourself maybe stumbled a little bit, where you're going, how could this happen to me? I've done all these things right. I'm doing it step by step.
Right.
How could this happen to me?
Right.
What's wrong with me?
And that's really the question. How could this happen to me? I know I have a good heart, right?
Yeah.
I know I don't mean bad by anyone, and so I really think that was really the question that there was no answer to. And one day I got okay with not having the answer.
That's so funny. So did I.
Yeah.
I lived with why? How could this happen? Why didn't know what was going on? And there's no answer.
There's no
I'll
answer.
never have an answer. But
that's really the thing. It's when you don't have an answer and have to say, you know what, God?
And that's faith.
Okay.
I think that's absolute.
It absolutely is faith.
Right?
Yeah.
Sweetheart, I love you.
I love you too.
You are a sister to me. Thank you for sitting down and talking again and telling your beautiful story. I think we just have to do it once a year.
I know. Because, honey, who knows? Next year, honey, there's no telling.
I cannot
There's
wait.
no telling.
Because you are always doing something.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much, Teresa.
I love you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. This has just been pure delight for me, and I'm sure it has been for you as well. Until next time, take care and take hope.